Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You are helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference.
Am I the host? Okay.
Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. If you
Sam is, I know.
I think Bill is too.
Thank you. There is one other participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Hello? Sam, are you on? Sam?
Hello?
Hi, Sam?
I think you're on mute because you're red.
Oh,
Where's that?
there we go. Can you hear me now?
Hey, all right.
Thank
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, perfect.
How's it going, Denise?
Not too bad.
All right.
Better now that I have you on the phone.
You have gone into an echo chamber, but yeah, that was a little bit of stress trying to figure that out.
This is Bill.
That's Bill, yeah.
Sam's going in that way too.
So, okay, so Bill and Sam are on. Okay. Sam, are you on? I'll stop you.
You got a couple minutes.
I know he was sure planning on getting on, so I'm expecting here in a second.
Yeah. I dialed in a little before 7, so should be good.
Billy, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Would you mind grabbing that stack of invoices in front of my spot and signing those for me?
Not a problem.
Hey, Sam.
Anybody heard from Riley or Rex?
I thought Brock was going to be here.
We have 4, so we can.
Yeah, there's that.
I heard Stacy and Chad, and obviously Denise and Sam's on. Billy's there. We're waiting on Brock and Chad Riley.
Yes. We might as well get going.
We can start if you want.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. All right, first thing on the agenda is additions to and approval of the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We do have a few additions. So under new business, letter item C would be the Stockwell Force Agreement. And letter D would be a pay request number 7 for Central Basin 3. And E is a change order number 4 for Central Basin 3.
Motion to approve as amended. Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, agenda has been approved. So next is visitors to be heard. Members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the council shall use the podium. Please raise your hand, be recognized, go to the podium and state your full name and address. Remarks are limited to 2 minutes.
Good evening, I'm Alan Ratliff. I live at 610 South Academy Street, and I'm here to talk about what's happened with my neighbor. My neighbor does not have anything to do with this talk. It's just my own idea because I think it could have been done a little bit better way. On December 18th, Friday, I got a call from my neighbor, and she was confused and a bit upset. They found on their front door a ticket that was kind of a bright orangish, yellow, red color that said warning on it. And what was checked was illegally parked an abandoned vehicle. And that said it was parked on the property. And she had no idea what this was all about because the vehicle that they're referring to is licensed, it's insured, and they drive it periodically. It was driven that actual week that this notation was given. I can't tell whether it says December 13th or 15th, but they didn't see it until the 18th because it was on the front door, which is kind of set back in their house, and they never used the front door. So the communication wasn't real well there. And the reason that I kind of got a little bit involved with this is because 3 years ago, this same family received a letter in the mail from the attorneys for the city. And it was threatening them a lawsuit if they didn't clean up their yard and the other stuff that was around them. Now, the thing that bothers me about all this is they gave him 20 days. This is the gentleman who was in his 80s, had heart problems, and had cancer. And they gave him 20 days, otherwise the city's going to come in and clean it up, charge him with that and other fines, it says. So I'm getting a little frustrated with the fact that the city is dealing with their citizens this way. What's wrong with the knock on the door and to explain what they think is the situation with that car or with that house? Now, I know my neighbors are ones who are more than willing to do whatever they're asked to do, and they did. But they had these threatening things come to them at first. Big, bright warning sign. On top of that, this is for an ordinance that's not visible on the internet. So how are we as a citizen supposed to know what we're going to be charged with? And the fact that this violation, as they call it here, says it's to be immediately, action is to be taken immediately to avoid a citation. It doesn't say what action, it doesn't say by what time, and he did leave a number for the city to call, so she called the city, or the police department, got sent over to Canton, and they said, well, they're out on a call, they can't talk to you. So she tried to call City Hall. Of course, it's Friday afternoon. Nobody works on Friday afternoon at City Hall. So she's beside herself to understand this, and that's why she called me, because she knew I used to be on the council, and maybe I had some insight. I didn't have insight, I just had frustration. And I called Brock. Brock responded very well. He contacted the people involved. And everybody who talked to her were very nice about her. She had nothing, no problem with that. It's just me having a problem with the way that we are dealing with our citizens. To, first of all, have your lawyers, you've got to spend money to have them send a letter to threaten a lawsuit and go to talk to them ahead of time about this. They had no idea where this was coming from. And I don't understand why somebody could have knocked on their door or made a phone call, talked to them, explain the situation, save some money because they wouldn't have had to have the lawyers write that letter. So, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to get it done in this 2 minutes here. I think the citizens need to be respected a little bit more. And I understand, according to that conversation with the police officer, that we've had about 40 phone calls at that time about this new ordinance, which is puzzling me because this ordinance isn't even in effect until January, I guess. And yet warning signs are putting out to their citizens, and no information is given, and you can't go online to find out any information either. So I guess I'm just employing you to check things things out, find out why things are done the way they're done, find out how they're done, and maybe encourage a few people to use a little bit more respect. And maybe the people sitting here should do a little bit more, use your representation as talk to your representatives or to your people before maybe you vote on some of these things. Get their opinion. You know, what do you mean by this? And maybe you get some input. Maybe you have a standing committee of people from each ward that you go to and ask to bounce things around. I don't know. I just think maybe the people of the town aren't being represented maybe as well as they could be, and they're certainly not being respected as well as could be when we get these kind of announcements given to them. I think that's about it. A whole lot shorter than I thought. Oh, by the way, one other thing. In this water bill announcement we got, I was told that we would be finding out what the this ordinance is that he's referring to with this today. And there's nothing in there about it. It says it's something about parking on grass. Lots of information is not there. And there's nothing on this at all about that dude. So how are the people going to know? Other than everybody gets a warning. Maybe they could have given a notice, especially when it's the month prior to it even going into effect. A notice might have been more appropriate.
Did you go online, Alan?
I went online. The ordinance he's quoted here, or he labeled here, was 7.0401J. Well, it stops at I. There is no J.
Okay, and I haven't looked, I'm just asking.
Yeah, and I went on that, and I looked all over, I thought, well, maybe it's now being updated, so it's there so I can see it before I come here tonight. It's not there.
I know chapter 7 addresses a lot of parking type stuff, if you looked at that. There was something, chapter 7, like if you go in the municipal ordinances on the website.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
Yep.
7.0401.
And that's what I was asking. There was something, I know there was something about, hard surface or what.
Well, that becomes a
And
question.
I don't know all the details.
If you're going to park off of your driveway, does it have to be parked on cement? Can it be gravel? Can it be dirt? Bob, actually, he had carpet. He didn't want the grass to grow there, so he laid down all kinds of carpet. And he parked his vehicle there for years and years and years and years and years. And his vehicle's sitting out of sight, basically. So you have to go looking for it to actually see it. So I'm just really puzzled as to how this situation comes about.
We can find the language, and do you want us to get that to them or to you? What do you prefer? For the language in there, I know it's in there somewhere. I'm not sure where to find.
Well, I'm
Page 65,
You have it, Billy?
J.
I just found it too, the 2020 ordinances, yeah.
Yep.
there. Wait, where?
It's on the city's website, and it's under the 2020 ordinances.
We were just clicking on ordinances, but there's actually a 2020 ordinances.
And updated
Is
version.
that up at the same main menu thing?
Yeah.
It's over on the sidebar, yeah.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
Yeah, J is on a surface that is unimproved and not a hard surface, so parking is prohibited in certain places. At any time, it shall be unlawful to permit any vehicle to stop, stand, or park in any of the following places, except where necessary to avoid conflict with other traffic or in compliance with the directions of law enforcement officer or traffic control sign or signal. So if I go down to J, up under that, it is on a surface that is unimproved and not a hard surface with concrete, asphalt, pavers, or other like durable material, not including loose stone or gravel.
So an addition added to your driveway that's gravel is not going to be accepted.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep. So, well, I thank you for your time tonight, Alan.
Yep. Well, thank you for putting that up, 'cause I couldn't find it.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Alan.
Anthony, sorry.
All right, any other visitors to be heard this evening? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's the color of the paper back there.
My name is Lee Pottis.
What's the last name?
Pottis, P-O-T-H-A-S-T. live at 220 East 2nd Avenue. Been there about 3.5 years. Received this one, he was just talking about it. And at first, we didn't even know what it was about. I've had a trailer in my backyard since I moved in. I just kind of keep it in the back. I kind of put it up in the middle because I was doing a bunch of cleaning out the shed. And I was going to be gone for a week. It's December, so I parked 2 vehicles back there. And they're not abandoned, they get run all the time. How far are you going to go with this? My question is, I live down in Coolidge, Arizona. They got a self-proclaimed HOA. We were lucky we were renting. I went back 3 years later and the whole place is a ghost town. You couldn't even park a tricycle out in front. Where are we going with this? That's what I want to know. Should I sell?
So you're asking what the ordinance's intent is, or?
Yeah.
I think it's been around for a while.
This isn't a new ordinance,
Yeah.
it's just now it's finally being enforced.
Yeah.
It's that vehicles be parked on a hard surface,
Yeah.
not out in the backyard, not in a side yard, not in gravel next to the driveway, on a hard surface. It's, I mean,
This new ordinance is changed.
there's some language that was changed, but the hard
surface thing hasn't changed.
The hard surface has always been there, it just defines it better, is what's been changed.
It's been around for.
And the purpose really is to clean up properties who are, they just look bad. It looks bad. So we got a new development coming to town. We got people that are gonna drive through town and say, I wanna know if this is the place I wanna live. And looking at places that have 5, 4, 3, 6 cars parked in a yard just does not look good. And so we wanna clean that up. And so that's the purpose for the reorganization or the rewording of some of the stuff in the ordinance. The hard surface stuff has always been there. And the hard surface does, whether it's concrete or the block. And doing the investigation on that particular ordinance, which wasn't that long ago, was when campers and things sit on grass, weeds and things grow underneath it, and then people just leave it. And so then you've got this yard that's got all this grass and weeds growing out from underneath it. Not all of them, but some of them. And that was the purpose for the ordinance that was put in, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, before I was on council.
Some of it was defined too, because I think now it addresses, there's language to address unlicensed, because there was a problem at one time with like unlicensed vehicles just being parked in grass. Kind of a better explanation along with what you said, Chad, with the hard surface. There was something else, I don't recall what it was. Parking over, like there would be people that maybe had trailers that they would park in the driveway and the tongue would hang over the sidewalk. So like, if somebody was walking their kids with a stroller, they couldn't get around. So there's some of that language. Do you guys still have it up?
My second follow-up question was, we gotta get off the street so the snowplows can get through. It makes a mess if they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we put them when this happens? How does that work?
In your driveway or garage,
What if we don't have enough room?
I would suggest renting a place to store it. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I had a boat. I paid $35 a month to store my boat. Not at my house, because I don't have a third stall garage. I mean, I'm in the same boat, so to speak.
Or a neighbor. I mean, if you got a neighbor that's got
Yeah,
a
extra
large
space.
driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. We will go with consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and second, any discussion? Alright, hearing none, we'll do roll call. Wolf?
Aye.
Welch?
Aye.
Rops?
Aye.
Doherty?
Aye.
Bowers?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
Alright, consent agenda is approved. Excuse me. Old business, ordinance 617, fiscal year 2020 supplemental budget, this is the second reading.
That's correct. There was just 2 minor changes to that, but it was significant. And then so we did talk to the attorney to make sure that it was okay, and he said yes, he thought it was. So the fire administration was added, so I bolded it so that you would see the changes. So the fire administration was $15,000, and that is for the radios that they are approved, and we are getting reimbursed for that. And then Mitch did mention that he thought the force account was going to go over more than what he anticipated when he told me. So we increased that.
How much more? Ballpark.
I think it's close to 100,000 is what he's thinking. Total. 110. Oh, thank
So I
you.
think
10,000.
10,000.
now we have 100,000 is what
Yeah.
we've approved, and now they're saying it's 110.
How many radios did the fire get?
5.
We got 5?
For $3,000 each?
That was for the programming too.
That's what they cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would
We
say,
just got 8 of them and it's 21,000.
Yeah.
That is truly what they cost.
And we had to use the CARES money, we had to use a certain vendor, right? Or we had to go through at least,
not necessarily, I think, because you guys went through Vantech, and then they went through 2A radio.
okay,
But the whole thing was that the ambulance got 8 of them, and so then his response to me was, why does the fire, because we tried to get more for the fire department.
sure.
And then Nate did come in, Nate Strasser came in and said, you know, we don't go to calls on a regular basis for medical. You know, that is the ambulance. But at times they do assist.
Right.
So once I explained that to the state, then they gave them 5. So.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All right, Bowers. Rock.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
All right, second reading has been approved. On to new business, resolution 2020-12-2801, 2021 rates and fees.
Thank you, Mayor. So you'll see, I did try to highlight in yellow the changes that were included for this resolution, but this resolution is something that's done every year to show our fees and our amounts that we charge throughout the year. And the building permit fees had quite an overhaul, if you noticed that. Anybody got any questions?
With the building permit fees, what did we base those off of, Denise, do you recall?
Greg took something from Sioux Falls, and he basically kind of modeled it towards that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's what he used.
Because I think when I spoke with him, he said it's gonna be easier to like put in a new door or windows or.
It's going to be consistent, I think, is the key, because one person may say it only costs them $25, and that's not, you know, but, and another person may say, oh, you know, I've been having somebody do it, it's $50. So there was an inconsistency there, and so he's trying to just get it based on square footage and saying, this is the amount that, you know, based on this, here's your amount, so that we have less.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution for 2021 rates and fees passes. Next is 2021 garbage hauler licenses.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have 3 of them, AOK, NOVAC, and RBS Sanitation. So they have all sent in everything that was needed. The only thing we're waiting on, and all 3 of them are waiting on it, for proof of county license, so the county must be behind on there. So, but everything else was included.
I know there was talk in Nate's memo, which makes a lot of sense in terms of the wear and tear on new streets and having multiple companies. Which I think is, I think we do need to take a look at that. And I don't know if we have a bidding process that happens then to select one.
Yeah, we could send out, I could talk to Worthing, because they do that, they send it out, and they got a 3-year contract with RDS. They were the lowest bidders.
Sure.
So, and then they just include it on their water and sewer bill. It's probably too late for this year,
Yeah.
but for next year, that might be a very good possibility.
That makes sense.
City Administrator Vanderplatz had expressed his intention to research that for 2022 going forward. But with it being the end of 2020 and the advent of 2021, we just don't have time to move forward with the process to get bids and select one for our city. So at this point, I would make a motion to approve the driver towing licenses.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 2021 garbage hauler licenses are approved. On to C, Stockwell 2021 force account agreement.
Thanks, Mayor. Evening, everybody. We got an agreement for next year's force account from you. I did have some handouts here to kind of help go along with it.
Yeah, we don't have it.
I didn't know I was supposed to make copies of that.
You want me to pass?
Yeah, why don't you hand me that big one?
Do you want me to go over the copies of this quick, Mitch?
From the agreement, do you guys not have it in here?
No.
No.
Do you want a copy? It's the same as last year's, and it's got a $40,000 amount with it. Do you guys want a copy?
I can go make some. Yes.
We can talk through this a little bit. This is a little discussion on 2020, just to help you know kind of where we're at and being at the end of the year. This report is kind of divided into Central Basin. We're going to talk about that on the but the bottom half is the force account from 2020. And you can see this is a graph that we prepare and present, throughout the year to just keep tabs on that account with your staff and with our office. And what you can see, what we talked about with the appropriation is we're heading towards about $110,000 for the year. We are contracted for $100,000. And what I tried to do on the right side is show a pie graph of all the different type of projects that we've had within that force account. I'd say this force account's been different than your force accounts in the past. Usually we are around that, I want to say $50,000 mark most years, but this year we just had some big projects in there that aren't always in the force account agreement. And the first one that jumps out is when you look at the miscellaneous, that's the biggest blue portion. That's coming to meetings, that's doing cost estimates, reviewing plats, kind of your day-to-day stuff that we're normally doing. The red one is the public works. That's really when your staff left and you had us fill in for some of those duties. I tried to put that 19K next to countryside is supposed to be next to public works. That's off. So the public works value was about $19,000. Okay. And then countryside just being a big subdivision and just has how fast it's been going out there. We have spent time out there, so that's the green one. That also includes the plan reviews we were doing early in the year and working with the TIF district and all that sort of stuff. So I know Nate has said in the past that is getting funded in a different way through the TIF. So I don't know exactly what he's got going on there, but I do know there's some other funds helping pay for that. The donations, purple, we have donated just in-kind services in the amount of $15,800. That's labeled at the top there. And that's just, we help with that master plan in the park, just little random things that might donate a meeting here and there that I go to. And so that's what that portion is. So on our side, we see we're at probably $120,000 account on our side, but we're only billing, it's actually more than that, $15,000, but we're only billing 110, not the donated portion. So you actually see that as a line item on your invoices. If you ever see those, they show up as a donated hour, and then we show that at the bottom of the invoice with the total donation. The front foot research we had about 11,000 into, and that was to develop a spreadsheet that Denise was used to get the accounting. Basically, we went and researched every plat on record. We got the front foot so that they could be put into that spreadsheet and assessed against properties on an annual basis.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that was towards the end of the year. We were working on that. You can see the sewer televising contract that you're familiar with, and then the Lennox 2035. So I took some of those bigger ones and just tried to mark them out. Because those really are common ones year to year. If you put those aside, we're probably looking at about a $50,000 force account. I think so. For next year, Nate asked for 40,000 is what he directed us to include in there, based off the budget and whatever you guys had in place. So that's what we got written into next year's force account. I thought maybe that would help just understand where all these things have been appropriated in this year's. And I would say for a town your size, we usually have probably about $50,000, $55,000 force account.
Move to approve.
Who seconded?
Motion and second to.
Mayor, what are your thoughts about this?
Thank you, Bill. I did read in here that we have a 90-day termination fee. Termination time, that if we wanted to terminate the agreement, we can do that at any time.
Yep.
I think it's something we need to revisit as a council. But it's good to have an engineer on board next week when it's January, so. At this time, yeah.
So really looking at this, like, we didn't expect, the public works thing, that wasn't initial what we had in mind, right, in 2020?
And that's 20,000, right?
Okay. When we started looking at all our street plans, and like, how are we gonna fund doing sidewalk and curb gutter and our vision for streets and infrastructure? That got a little more specific than I think we initially thought, right? So that's at 11,000. Did we initially have sewer televising as something we were gonna plan, or is that something we got?
No.
About 48 grand is what I came up with.
Sure.
Out of our normal.
Yeah.
Stuff. What's the LADC stuff?
So that we've been helping with cost estimates for South Main, and there was a business that was looking at buying a lot down there.
But I'm confused as to why the city would pay for LADC
Well, that's-
work.
Yeah, so Nate has made so all this work, guys, is upon your staff's request. This isn't just us going out and doing this work. But the LADC stuff, he's asked us to do specific things to help him get his arms around whatever it is out there. And it's mostly been cost estimates. That's really what it's been.
Like extending utilities.
Yeah,
and things like
but
that.
he has asked us to, so on our invoices, we memo it all out. So you can see exactly how many hours we spent on all these types of things. And I think he was gonna take those and possibly send that back to LADC.
Yeah.
Back charge them, I don't know exactly. I know he did ask us to make sure we were clear on those memos, what was could be from them.
In my time on council, this being my 4th year, I would say last year, basically end of 19 and into 2020 has been the biggest, what do you want to say? Like the biggest turn that this city has made in a long time. New pool done, new development that's really up and running, done, and that all is going to cost money regardless of what engineer we use. But I just think there's a lot that has went into 2020, and I don't know what 2021 is going to necessarily entail, but the fact that we've got a plan and we've got a vision out of Lennox 2035, and to see this to see this in another six-figure account would be a surprise to me. Where you'd be back at your 50,000. I don't know, I mean, just, what do you think?
No, I agree. I mean, do you agree? Yeah, I mean, like I said, most towns we deal with this size are in that $50,000 area.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
That's the plat reviews and inspections, and that's really the regular day-to-day. I think going forward, something like the sewer televising, I wish, looking back, we would have just separated it out, made it a separate contract, because it would just have been clear that way. I think we were just in a position where we want to move fast, and we just started working on it. So,
Speaking of that televising, do you know when, will there be a report out? Is there a timeline for that?
yeah, we're working on that. We've actually gotten through all the videos now, and we've got just some hand sketches of map areas that we're kind of dialing into. We had them at our coordination meeting last time. I don't know if you got a real good look at it.
No, I didn't.
But we have gotten through them. We were holding off though since that meeting on that work because we were over on the force account. And so we put a pause on that just so we can get to next year, so we're not working outside of the scope more than we have to. Since that meeting, there are plat reviews that have come through. I've got 3 on my desk right now that I don't want to hold anything up for you guys with developers and so I am continuing to review those when they come through. But for some of those things that I couldn't push off, I just stopped working on them.
All right, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second, correct?
Yep.
All right, so we'll do a roll call. Wolf,
Aye.
Rouse,
Abstain.
Bowers. Riley,
Aye.
Doherty,
Aye.
and Welch.
Aye.
All right, 5-0 for the central and force account. Next would be the central basin to repay request number 7. No, I'm 7.
Yes.
Yes, okay. That was a second.
Should actually do the change order.
Should we do the change order first? Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Let's do central basin 3 change order number 4.
So you have the change order in the packets. I brought copies of some of these.
No, they don't, because it got added
Today,
after.
this morning when I got here, so I haven't been able,
Oh,
I never.
okay. Well, I'll leave them with you.
Sorry.
Then.
I didn't get those made, I should have. I guess.
So are we discussing, is the change order on the agenda? Is that-
Yes.
We added it to
We
the
added
agenda.
it. We just don't have
We just don't have it.
copy.
So the change order
Okay.
was a negative $632.75.
Yes, so you don't have the front end to see, so this looks different than we did last time. The reason we reorganized it, we talked about it at our meeting is, being this is a state funded project, I wanted to, we included all the work for the rework on the driveway in change order, but then we also deducted all the excess driveway work that we were not using on the project off of it. In an effort, so it was the state that doesn't raise any big red flag with whether it's gonna be eligible or ineligible. So that's why it's shown as a negative 632. Okay, so there's driveways out there, our people are working constantly to try to scale the driveways back if they can, If they can save on this driveway and bring the project in cheaper, that's the goal of ours on this project. So we did pretty well with that, so we were actually able to absorb that rework with basically some of the sidewalks that we underrun and some of the driveway pavements that we underran out there. The mayor and I had talked about, sounds like there's a consensus that Stockpole should cost share with the project. So the expectation is that we should pay for the entire driveway, and so we talked that through and we're agreeable to that. I just assumed give it back on our contract. It was about $9,500. We had that up, and so I wanted to go through. That's the top half of this, so we can see where we're at with the Central Basin project too. But if you go back to your summary report that I handed out, Just to give you guys the bigger picture here, end of the years type stuff. What's the Central Basin project? You see 4 columns there. You see description, the budget, trending, and net change. And the ones highlighted in blue are basically SRF funded. That comes from the SRF application that was sent in and that was approved, okay? So when you look at that application, there was a budget laid in there for bond council of $59,462. We only used $35,000 of that bond council. So you see we had a savings of that of $24,462. CCOG has their fees, they had a budget of $16,000. They're trending the same, so there's no savings there. On the engineering side, there was a budget of $751,649. We're trending, now this includes work that has to turn 21 yet, so we have some site inspections, warranty inspections, we still have as-bills to issue. We're expecting our fees to total $757,142. So that's a net change to that budget of $5,493, being over. On the construction side, you can see we budgeted $4,704,026. We were trending. We did the project. We had them come in, over than anticipated, but they're trending now at $5,244,858. There was contingencies in that application of the $521,000. That essentially went back towards construction dollars. So you see that number being a deduct, I guess, on the net change, a negative. All total, the budget that you had for the SRF application was $6,053,000 even, and so we balanced that out with that work. Now there's still some work beyond that we added with the sanitary sewer spot repairs and the Elm Street repairs, and that makes up pretty close to this $103,000. And you can see that was meant. Your original budget had $272,000 in local cash going towards this project. Okay, and so we've been working out in the field to try to bring that down as much as we can, and we're trending now towards $103,400. So we're saving on that local cash $168,650. Okay, that really, that $103,000 is again the sewer spot repairs and the Elm Street repairs. The sewer spot repairs are eligible under the SRF. It's just the SRF is full. We've used all of it. We allocated it all. So that really tipped us over with those two. But I mean, you guys were prepared for that, and we're anticipating that. So you can see at the end of the day, we're delivering a project that's $168,651 under the original budget that was put together back then. So with my discussions with the mayor, and I've asked if we could come to an agreement of paying for the services that we had into the project, we would credit back the $9,500 in the driveway scenario here, and you would be I guess that's what I'd like to propose, I guess, if you guys would take that into consideration.
So that it doesn't get into the engineer paying the contractor, we pay the contractor, and then they just credit that onto our next bill, basically.
Yeah. I don't like getting involved with paying the contractor directly because it just looks shady and people can misinterpret that.
Yep.
And so if it's all the same to you guys, I just assume working on our contract and you done with that.
I have no issue with that. Anybody else?
No problem.
Sam, Bill, do you guys have any thoughts?
It sounds reasonable what Mitch is explaining, and I'm hoping the paperwork that you guys are reviewing is following right along and making sense to everybody, so I don't have any questions.
Right, so we did the motion and a second for the change order 4, did we get that? I just said.
We have that.
Oh, we have done, okay, sorry.
I'll make that motion to approve change order number 4.
Second.
Motion and a second. We'll do roll call on that. Bowers.
Aye.
approved, so finally we're on to Central Basin 3 pay request number 7.
And I'm just gonna, it sounds like, we're in agreement with what I just said, so when we have our final invoicing for the year, which will be, it'll probably be just into January, but it'll be for 3 weeks. We'll show that credit on there, and I just, like I said, I appreciate you guys just moving to work with us on that too, so, that works.
No.
What's that?
It's easier and cleaner, so.
Yeah. Pay app, is that what we're on?
Yep. And they don't have it, so it's $93,916 is what it is.
Yep, so this is, slow lease contract. We're still withholding 5% retainage on it. They've got some seating left out there, so we're just gonna retain that until, but this basically brings on the work for the fire station, gets them paid for that, and some work that they've done elsewhere in the project, but gets them paid today.
All that would leave was the seating, cleanup work.
It's mostly seating from what I remember, is what they've got left. I think that really is all of it is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. We'll do a roll call. Riley.
Aye.
Roberts. Doherty.
Aye.
Russ.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
All right, pay request number 7 is approved.
Motion to adjourn.
Nothing else on the agenda?
Yep.
Thank you, Mitch.
Hope everyone had a good Christmas. We'll have a happy New Year.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Bill, you can stay on.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
These are mine.
Okay.
But they went, that's all I have. Maybe phone call.